In 3, 2.
All right, welcome back to this week's edition of Second City Sports Zoom style. I guess Lakeena won't be following me on that one, huh?
What up? Okay, Zoom style or something like that. There we go. Yeah.
I am Sid the Kid, joined by Miss Lakeena McGee as always. And this week we have a very special guest. She's from CN100 Sports, covering high school football and basketball in Chicago. Also, she is the field reporter for the all-women's baseball team, the Chicago Bandits. Is Miss Kacy Standohar. Kacy, welcome to the program. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're doing just fine.
Yeah.
So before we get started, tell our audience where can they follow you on social media.
So I am on Twitter. It's at Kacy Standohar, and I'm sure we can. And my last name's kind of long, so it's Standohar. Some people butcher it all the time. And then I'm on Instagram. It's just at Kacy Stando. So I shortened it for Instagram. But I'm pretty easy to find because my last name is so weird. So.
Oh, goodness.
Just real quick before we get started, I'll give the short edited version of the story. She stalked me on Twitter and I stalked her on Instagram, so that's how we know each other.
That's right.
Oh,
you gotta do it.
She can go ahead and that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Oh my gosh.
Facts. All right, so Kacy, where were you born and how did you get the bug of doing what you're doing right now?
That's a great question. I was actually born in Northeast Ohio. So I'm from the Youngstown area, which is about 45 minutes from Cleveland, 45 minutes from Pittsburgh. So we've got a lot of Browns, Steelers rivalry fans up where I'm from. My family still lives there. I went to college there. I studied journalism. And then I quickly fell in love with writing and editing, but then it kind of turned into the TV side. And then I realized, hey, I can do this with sports. I love sports. My brother played college baseball. I played sports as a kid. My dad was a great golfer, and sports was such a big part of our family that I just feel like I got the bug then. And I went from there, and I figured sometimes, as we know right now, news can be pretty depressing. So I said, why not do sports? Why not tell stories that people love about triumph and troubles and different things people go through that have to do with athletics and how it shapes them and helps them grow. So I just love telling stories. I love being a storyteller in that way. And then I moved to Chicago because I said, hey, I want to be in a bigger sports town. I want to be in a bigger sports market. There's so many great teams here. And I moved here in November of 2018. So I haven't even been here a full 2 years. I'm still pretty new. So, and then, yeah, I've just been, just getting my feet wet wherever I can, sticking my nose probably where it doesn't belong, but I've been involved with the Bandits. I did some work with the Frontier League teams down in Crestwood, the Windy City Thunderbolts. Worked with their baseball team last summer just a little bit, did some color commentary and some sideline reporting there for the radio. And then CN100 Sports happened last fall, and that was just such a blessing for me because I love covering these high school athletes in basketball and football. It's been great.
Did you play any organized sports growing up, grade school, high school, college?
In grade school, I played softball. I played second base. And I kind of stopped because I fell in love with dance and cheerleading and doing majorettes. So then I was a majorette for our college football team. So I twirled the baton at Michigan State Stadium because our team was like the throwaway game for Michigan State. Because we weren't very good. So there I was, like, terrified about to go on the 50-yard line at Spartan Stadium. So I mean, it's been a really cool experience. I still love sports, even when I was dancing. Still tried to stay involved with sports, and I even worked with the Columbus Blue Jackets for a while, the NHL team in Columbus, because I wanted to get involved in sports there, and I was a cheerleader for them. So any way I could incorporate my love for performance and sports and dance, I did it.
Before I kick it back to Lakeena, you talk about your days as a cheerleader. We've been looking at ESPN over the last, I'd say, at least 10 to 15 years that the cheerleading is a competitive sport. Some people say it isn't. Some people say that it is. Where do you fall on that since you were in that field?
Well, I think it's highly competitive because these women and young girls even are challenged every day to beat the other teams. You're competing against other teams. You're athletic training. You're doing push-ups. You're doing running drills. You're lifting each other up. You have to practice. So I think anything that involves practice, competition, and training should be considered a competitive sport.
Yeah, I totally agree. And those ESPN cheerleading competitions are always rate very high. So
No,
Yeah.
somebody's watching them. And
I didn't get that far, but
oh well, even still, but nonetheless, so do you have like a favorite like high school stadium or gymnasium that you went to this past year? Even though it was unfortunate, a lot. Well, the winter stuff, with basketball was cut short, but. Do you have like a favorite like stadium or gym that you were able to cover?
there's a couple that come to mind. I've been to some really cool old basketball stadiums where it feels like you're kind of like in this old gym, and the seats are still the same. I have to think, but one thing that stands out in my mind is Lake Forest High School's football stadium. It was a freezing cold game there at Lake Forest, and the Scouts ended up winning, and it was so cold that the team went straight into the locker room after the game. And I normally do my interview on the sideline post game, and I was like, I'm running after the kid, and I'm trying to get the quarterback on the camera. And I had to run into the locker room with them because it was so freezing. No one could feel their hands or feet or anything. So I got to do my post-game interview with them in the locker room, which was different for me. For one, it was new. And it was very exciting because all the players were so stoked about this big win. So they were yelling and cheering. And it kind of challenged me to do my interview in a different setting because I was definitely nervous and I could barely hear my own questions being asked. So that stands out in my mind. That was a really cool experience.
Oh, so much fun. Okay, so where do you want to start? I mean, we got a lot to get to today, these next couple of hours. So where do you want to start?
Let's start with college football because there's been some talk over these last few days. The Notre Dame athletic director, I forget his name, but he was on a Zoom, like we are now, Zoom conference call. And he was talking about how some colleges going to want to start on time and other schools will say not so much. It depends on what states that they're in. They want to start later. And I was listening to Joe Klatt, a college football analyst for Fox Sports, and he was saying that he talked to some people over the last couple of days, and he said, I think we will see college football in the fall. They may start on time, but from what he was saying, that they may start with, they will have some fans. How many, he doesn't know, but you may see some rescheduling. Maybe the conference games in some of these big-time conferences will be played first, because we all know during the first 2-3 weeks of college football, you have these out-of-conference matchups, and in particular, your big schools beating up on these small schools, but they may change that. It depends on what happens in the next couple of months. I want to get your opinion on it first, Lakeena. I kind of had that feeling whatever college football does, I think the NFL will learn from it what to do and not to do, and then carry on from there. But we talked about last week with Alyssa Bergamini. If there's some type of crowd control there, will tailgating will be involved? And how many fans do you let in these stadiums? And we used the example the last few weeks of the University of Michigan. They hold 110,000 people. As of right now, that's not going to happen. Will that be cut in half? Will it be 20,000 people or what? Right now, we just don't know. I want to start with you, like with college football, at least the schedule being possibly shifted around to start off the season.
Listen, like I've been saying the last couple of weeks, Sid and Casey, I'm gonna patch you in this too. Places like Michigan Stadium, the Big House, places like Bryant-Denny Stadium down in Auburn, and Kinnick Stadium over in Alyssa's alma mater, Iowa. I mean, you're not gonna be able to fit all those folks in all the stadium, or you're gonna have to, like you said, they have to cut it a third, cut it in half. Listen, I've been saying this for the last few weeks. I mean, the NCAA needs to get together with these conference commissioners and figure out how are we going to do this. I mean, like you said, Sid, I mean, some states are kind of softening up. Some states have already said that they're going to open up and start practicing with all their athletes, even though some schools have said that they're not going to do that this fall. So everyone has to kind of come together and figure out what they're going to do. I mean, because you can't have like some schools be able to do full steam ahead and then like other schools not be able to. You just can't do it. So I think for me, they're all gonna have to kind of get together and figure out what they're gonna do. Are they gonna have to maybe like you said, cut the capacity to maybe like a third, or do like carry a dome style where you cordon off some areas? Are you gonna be able to tailgate? I think you can probably forget about that. So I think they always need to kind of get together and figure out what they're gonna do, because you're kind of keeping some of these schools are in limbo here.
Kacy?
Yeah, I think honestly, guys, I heard the commissioner say that the sports won't return, NCAA sports won't return in the fall. I just feel like we can't afford to get this wrong in the face of this pandemic. Like, if we get this wrong and people rush to, open and bring fans back in, and then we're pushed back even further, I think that hurts sports for way longer than this. And sometimes, unfortunately, I feel like the NFL, with their whole hype over the schedule release, I think sometimes the NFL thinks they're like above what's happening here. I don't mean to offend any NFL fans, but sometimes I feel like they think they're above it, and it's just not the case. And I feel like the NCAA is taking steps and precautions to really think about these things, because if schools aren't back, then should college football games be back and college sports be back in general? I mean, but in the same breath, I get it. I want to be a fan too. I mean, I can't imagine NFL or college football stadiums with seats in between that everyone is kind of split and separated. So it might be the right solution, but at the same time, I think it'll be so odd to have those places not packed and to be kind of sitting with, whoever you're with, but then there's 4 seats between you guys. And then, I don't know, it's going to change everything. It's sad, but true.
I think both of you guys bring up very interesting points. And let's be honest here, the NFL is presented in a television type form. We get the shots of the aerial shots of the crowd before the game starts. In the same way with college football, and people pay attention as well. So you bring up an interesting point, Kacy. Even though it won't be nice, we're using the University of Michigan as an example. We won't see 110,000 people, but I think most people, including yours truly, will due to the situation we're in right now, you'd rather say at least 50,000 people or 25,000 people than no fans. And with all these big time conferences, I think everybody has to be on the same page, because unfortunately, it all comes down to money, especially with ESPN, Fox, and CBS, and all these big time networks have all paid big time money to air these games. So some schools start while others don't play. That's just not right. And we said this on our show in the last few weeks. If the students don't come back to the fall, then and the players are playing, especially in the stadium with no fans, that just doesn't seem right. So I think that we will see some college football in the fall, but I don't think we won't see 50,000 fans or more, not right away. I think they'll be brought in slowly. But some schools playing and some schools are not. That just doesn't seem right. I just don't see how you can pull that off.
I agree.
Yeah, they need to. Yeah, these conferences and the NCAA need to get together and figure out, okay, what's going to be the plan? Phase 1, phase 2, because it wouldn't be right. I mean, Kacy went to an FCS school, and you got to think that those schools are probably going to be kind of in the brunt of this too. So it'll be interesting to see how the lower divisions, how they're going to be able to kind of adjust to this new normal. So we'll see what happens. I mean, we've been hearing different things, and we're in May now, so we're still a long way off of when these guys are going to be able to go back to practice, if they're going to be able to at all. So they need to get together and figure out what they're going to do here.
Yeah, I can agree with you more, Lakeena. So you still have a little bit more time, but not too much time, because the regular season for college football starts around Labor Day weekend, the last week in August, and the first weekend of September before the NFL starts. So you still have a little bit more time, but not that much time as you think, because let's be honest here, with the situation they were in right now, it was mid-March, when we had the stay-at-home order, at least the state that we're living in Illinois. Now we're almost in the middle of May, so that's been 2 full months. So even though all the days, it seems like it runs together, it flew by just like that. So the NCAA, they're talking right now, but I do think that we will see games in the fall, but it'll be monetized in terms of the crowd, how many fans that you allow in the stands. Now, as I said before, as sports fans, do we all want to rush into those stadiums the next day? Absolutely. But if you don't have a contingency plan first for the players and then for the fans, both of them have to coincide together. If you don't have contingency plans for safety for both parties, none of this will happen.
Right.
Exactly. And you look at what MLB's doing. I mean, that the more and more stuff's coming out. I mean, we talked about it last week, Sid, about separating like 10 teams in each, 3 divisions. And then you have like maybe all coming into like Vegas. Some people have said maybe Phoenix, Arizona, or maybe I've heard some people say maybe even Florida. So baseball, they're kind of, both the owners and the players are kind of figuring out something because they're losing a lot of money right now. A lot of these games supposed to be going on. So what do you guys think of what's going to happen here with baseball? Because they're kind of in the same situation.
Yeah, nice transition, Lakeena. Where I was going to bring up baseball. It looks like we may be getting it back slowly, although MLB hasn't confirmed anything officially yet. No, there's a few teams that were told to get their players together and start getting ready. As we talked about before, Lakeena, before any games get played, they need about a 2 or 3 week spring training, and to get their timing down, to get back condition. Let's be honest, not everybody has a gym in their house, so
Right.
everybody's not working out for 5 to 10 hours a day. So, and plus, you have players spread across the country, across the globe, and in particular the Latin American players. So you have to get them back in time for them to start spring training. So, but it looks like baseball is just starting to get back slowly. I felt that out of the 4 major pro sports, that baseball will be the first one to be the first ones to get back. It looks like it's starting to happen, but slowly.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad because, I was even talking to my boyfriend yesterday, and he was like, I've been watching Korean baseball on TV because that's what they're airing. They're airing Korean games. And who knew there was all these teams in Korea that were playing too. But I don't know, it'll be odd to have a silent stadium. It'll be odd to see if they're going to play and do spring training, how long is the season going to last, and then how long are there going to be kind of no fans there. I mean, I would just love to watch an MLB game on TV in the comfort of my own apartment. That's okay. That's enough for me for now. We'll take the scraps as we can get them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Casey. Well, I like to be out there just like the rest of everybody else in the stands, yes, but if this is what we have to live through for short term, I'll take it. Now, I'm sure I'm one of the few that haven't checked out a second of Korean baseball on ESPN, but that's okay. But because we all been bored out of our minds. But like you say, we just gotta take it in scraps and then just be patient. Trust me, I have a big impatient bone in my body, but this is the steps that it has to take for us to get our sports back into full capacity. I'm all for it.
That's right.
Totally agree. Now, as speaking of, I mean, the NBA today is sort of the day when some of these teams are going to be opening up their practice facilities, and we've heard about different plans. We've talked about the last few weeks, Sid, about the NBA and what they're going to do because they're sort of trying to figure out, okay, get access to testing, getting more and more teams involved, maybe have the players and the coaches tested daily to kind of to make sure that they don't have any symptoms. So what do you guys think about what the NBA is trying to do? Sort of doing the same thing what baseball's doing.
I think the NBA is right on track because first the coaching staff, and like you said, Lakeem, we all know that older people are at risk for this coronavirus. So you have to take care of them right there. Also, obviously, the players are second because we pay to see them, so they're a big asset as well. So as long as there are enough testing for everybody, for players, staff, and the coaching staff, and everybody else that are involved, I'm all for it. Like we said before, we were talking about college football. As long as the safety of the players are first, you have a contingency plan for it. Everything else should fall in line. Now, not to get off sidetrack a little bit, but I think, as we said before, the longest this goes, the regular season, even though it was about 12, 13 games left for most of these teams, I hate to say it, but the regular season is over. Yeah. Once again, you're going to have about a 2 to 3 week training camp, and then you just jump right into the playoffs. I think the regular season is over. Once you have this training camp for the NBA, whenever that is, you're going to jump right into the playoffs now. Are you going to have a full 7-game series of rounds 1 through 4? Will it be the best of 5, best of 3, or will it be like March Madness? We don't know. But I think it's safe to assume that the regular season is over. Now you got to figure out how you're going to do this playoff format because of the situation we're in right now.
I mean, today is the day that the Trailblazers and then the Cleveland Cavaliers open up these practice facilities for at least social distancing workouts and for at least just, these just individual workouts. But I think it's still really unclear. I mean, like you said, the finals are supposed to be starting in June. This is the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in your opinion, do you guys think that they could even have that small season that extends into the fall, especially if there's no college sports and pro football happening right away? Like, can we just shift the whole chain?
Oh, that's gonna be difficult.
Yeah.
If you know for sure that college football won't be starting on time, then maybe they can go ahead and do that. But right now, we just don't know. That's where I stand on it.
Yeah, from what I've read, the NFL has already said that they may put some games, even though they did their schedule release and their the big to do last night. I would be surprised if they may move a couple of their marquee games to Saturday in case there is no college football, or at least the season is delayed. Now, as far as maybe the NBA playoffs are concerned, I mean, do you do sort of like a best of 3 or 5 for the early rounds, then maybe just do a best of 5 for the finals? Do you just like top 8 teams, or do you just pick it up from the top 4, or maybe do a top 6 and then just have the top 2 seeds get a bye? I mean, there's still a lot that needs to be figured out here, and I don't know. At this point, I think Adam Silver, I'll give him credit. This is all he's playing all this by ear, which is probably a smart thing for him to do. I think he got all his ducks in a row and maybe have like contingency plans and stuff. So we'll see. I mean, some teams are doing the social distancing practicing thing, like Kacy just said. And it'll be interesting to see what they do here, because this is unprecedented. We haven't gone through this before, so it'll be interesting to see what they do here.
I want to get your guys' opinion on this. I know that's been floated around for about at least the last year or so, even before this pandemic that we're in right now. And I think the NBA can try this. This would be the perfect time. Your top 16 teams, of course, what it is right now is your top 8 teams from each conference make the playoffs. You can try it this year. I know they don't want to do this, but this is a special situation that we're in right now. Just have the top 16 teams and just go at it for maybe not in a March Madness style, but at least the best 3 out of 5, like you had the first rounds back in the day, or you just have maybe just the best 3 out of 5 all 4 rounds, but just have the best 16 teams. Now, if you get, I know the league fears this, but you can have a Golden State, assuming that they're healthy here, but not this year. But assuming that you have, we all thought that the Clippers and the Lakers were going to meet this year in the Western Conference Finals. I know the league fears this, but if they meet up in the first round or second round, if you have this format, so be it. But I wouldn't mind them trying that out just for this year, only because of the situation we're in. So I think that'll be fun. Just have the top 16 teams just go battle it out. But we all know that the networks, i.e. ESPN and Turner, have a lot of say in this. So I don't know that this idea gets pulled up. But I would like to see it just for this situation that we're in right now. Moving forward, I don't know. But I would like to see them try it out, at least for the summer.
Go ahead, Kacy.
I like it. I do like it. I agree with you. I think it'd be cool, but I think you're going to bruise a lot of egos. You're thinking about the players and you're thinking about, well, where will we be and how can we judge based on where we finished so far in the middle of the season? I don't know. I think it's a bummer because it doesn't leave room for any upset, but.
Well, yeah, I think television too, like you just said, television plays a part. That's why that'll never happen. Even though they have talked about
unfortunately.
it. Yeah, I'll say, yeah. So I don't think there's a Turner and ESPN, they're not going to want to have the Lakers and the Clippers face each other in the first round. They're just not going to want to do that. So, and the Bucks and the Clippers and the Bucks and Lakers, so they don't want to do. They're not going to want to do that. So that's why it'll be interesting, but that'll never happen. So
I guess we got NBA 2K, right?
Exactly. That's probably the only way you'll be able to do that. Exactly. That's probably the only way you'll be able to do that. My goodness. Oh, okay. What else? So we're still so much up to go. So where do you want to go to next?
I want to go back to Kacy's journey through her broadcasting career. Since I cover hockey for our website at WARR.com. Kacy, how did you get involved with the Columbus Blue Jackets organization? How did you get started working with that fine organization?
Well, I honestly lived pretty close to Nationwide Arena, and I worked pretty close to it too, and during my full-time job, and I just started going to hockey games. And I didn't grow up loving hockey. My dad didn't really watch it. We were a baseball, football, basketball family, but I started watching some games, started going to some games, and they're a smaller market team, but it was fun to go. I liked the fast pace of hockey. I loved how it moved. I loved how excited the fans were. And so the following year, there was an opportunity to audition for their promo team and their cheerleading team. And I just kind of jumped on it. I just thought, this is me. This is up my alley. I've been a college majorette. I've been a professional dancer before. I can do this. And it truly was a really cool experience because it wasn't just about looks or, your dancing ability. It was also about how you interact with fans and how, fun you can be, how silly you can be, how off the cuff you can think quickly on your feet. So I auditioned, and it was intimidating as hell. It was very scary, but I auditioned, and then I got selected with about 15 other girls, and then there was some guys on our squad too. So it was a blast. I mean, I met some of the most amazing season ticket holders, fans throughout that process. The players were all very nice on the team. They didn't make you feel like weird to be around them or next to them because you pass them. And then Coach John Tortorella in the hallway, and he can be very intimidating on camera and in interviews, but honestly, with practice and with passing him in the halls, he's actually a really nice, humble guy. So,
He's actually a nice guy. He didn't yell at you.
Yeah, I know. Crazy. Yeah, I never would have thought that. That is a shock.
Yeah. Sports didn't yell at me. I know he was intense in his former roles, and he's still intense now. I don't know that I'd want to be. I'm good friends with the rinkside reporter for the Blue Jackets. I don't know that I'd want to be him still, because I think if you say the wrong thing or ask the wrong question, you're gonna hear about it. But he was nice to me. I did see him a few times, so I have nothing but good things to say, even though I know what everyone sees.
Oh gosh.
I tell people all the time that haven't been to a hockey game, at least go to a couple to experience it, because on TV you can watch basketball and you watch it in a certain type of way, along with baseball and football as well. As we talked about, in the NFL in particular is a TV sport. But you go to a hockey game, you see everything that you don't see on TV. It's nonstop action. There's very few breaks in between. You really have to concentrate on the puck and concentrate on the action. And it's just the atmosphere around it. Of course, we can attest to this here in Chicago, again, because of the except for the last 3 years, but with the recent success of the Chicago Blackhawks with the 3 Stanley Cups. We'll get into them later, but just experiencing a hockey game live, those who haven't experienced it, you should check it out whenever they return.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Even though the Blue Jackets had a good run last season, we swept Tampa Bay and almost, made it. We don't have any Stanley Cups yet like you guys do, but yeah, the atmosphere is just electric at a hockey game, no matter where you are.
Have you been to a Blackhawks game yet, Kacy?
I have, yeah. I saw them play the Jackets.
Good.
Yeah, I saw them play the Jackets twice, actually. So because a lot of my friends were in town when they would play here in Chicago. So definitely love the UC. I definitely love how classic it is. It's different than Nationwide Arena, because Nationwide Arena is a little newer, a little more open, and then the concourse at the UC is a little tighter. But that's just, old school.
Yeah, the only player that I liked, not saying I hated anybody from the Blue Jackets, the only player from the Columbus Blue Jackets that stood out to me, I know he's retired now, was Rick Nash. He was one of the he was one of the best underrated players for his size and for his time while he was there.
Yeah, he's pretty well liked still in Columbus too. And then while we had Artemi Panarin, we enjoyed that as well. I know we.
Oh gosh, we miss him. We miss him dearly.
Yeah.
Hey, we do too now.
Yeah, now he's making all that money in a big market with the New York Strangers, but that's a whole other issue.
That's what he wants.
Strangers, not Rangers.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Now, staying with hockey, with their sports fandom growing up, Kacy, as we talked with Kacy Standohar of CN100 Sports here in Chicago on Second City Sports Zoom style. Kacy, what were some of your favorite memories of being a sports fan growing up in Ohio?
It's a good question. I loved going to Indians games with my dad. Going to Jacobs Field, which is now Progressive Field, was so much fun. We would go down to meet the players beforehand. I met Kenny Lofton and Alomar, Omar Vizquel. I mean, just meeting some of the guys as like a 7 or 8-year-old kid with I was wearing like this ugly plaid Indians hat with the Chief Wahoo on the front, which they no longer use. And it was like a plaid hat, and I had a big gap in my teeth. I didn't have braces yet. But I was so excited to meet my favorite athletes. And then more recently, having the All-Star game last year in Cleveland at Progressive Field was just so exciting. I got to go back for that. And it was really great to see how people kind of embrace the city of Cleveland. Because Cleveland gets a lot of flack. People are like, oh, it's just Cleveland, but it is a nice stadium. It is a good ballpark. And I love the way the whole city kind of turned out and did the red carpet for all the different All-Stars. So that was a cool experience to kind of see it come full circle from my childhood.
With all due respect, Kacy, with love, this is going back to the 90s because I was born in 1980, but I'm still 29. That's my last offer. Number two,
Right.
During the 90s, with all due respect, during the 90s, I'm a White Sox fan, but during the 90s, boo to Cleveland because you guys were good and while the White Sox were struggling in there. So I kind of envy you guys, but I will say that during the 90s, the Cleveland did have some great teams. I don't know if you guys caught the special MLB Network, but they did a documentary on those 90s Indians teams, and there were some great players on those teams. They just couldn't get it done as far as World Series is concerned. Did you have a chance to watch that yet?
I have not seen that. I'd like to check that out.
Okay, I forgot what it's called. My mind's going blank, but
I'm gonna look it up.
I think it's called The Dynasty That Almost Was.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I feel so bummed because those were some really great Indians teams, and unfortunately they weren't able to make it all the way to the promised land. So,
Still in 2016, we weren't able to do it. But the Cubbies got it done. People that I know, I tell them I'm an Indians fan still, and I do like the Cubs. I have a picture of Wrigley Field in my apartment. I live near Wrigley. I'm in Lakeview, so I still do like the Cubs. People are like, "How did you forget 2016 so fast?" Listen, if we were gonna lose to a team, it was gonna be the Cubs, and it's okay. But now we've got the longest drought, so I guess that's all right.
Yeah, just going back to those Indians teams, you had Jim Thome, who ended his career with the White Sox, one of the last teams he played for. He had a young Manny Ramirez before the steroids, but that's a whole other issue. He had Orel Hershiser, who extended his career about 2 or 3 years after his fame with the Dodgers. He had Eddie Murray before he was elected to the Hall of Fame. Like you mentioned, Kacy, you had Kenny Lofton, and you had
love him.
Jose Mesa. The closer, he had that drama between him and what's that shortstop, Omar Vizquel. They get into that in that documentary by MLB Network. We won't give it all away here, but you had a talented roster 1 through 9, and also was a second baseman, Carlos Baerga. He was very good too. Not too many people talk about him, but he had a loaded lineup during those years with the Cleveland Indians in the 90s.
That's right. We did. And have you guys lately, speaking of Omar Vizquel, seen his ball handling skills still? I saw a video of him playing catch a while back, and he's still just like so quick. Oh my gosh. It's so much.
Didn't check it out, but I know he wants to become manager at some point. So I won't doubt it that he'll become a manager of a big league team at some point in these next few years.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. He's looking forward to it too. I can't, because, he's been, I know he's been, put it out there that he wants to be a manager. So I can't wait. And it should be interesting and fun. Kacy, since you're in Ohio, like kind of right in the middle of the Browns and Steelers and that big rivalry. Well, what do you think about the Browns sort of, descent, if you will, because they've been kind of underachieving these last few years?
Oh, yeah. Hey, guys, before I get to that, I want to make sure that I don't know if it's because I don't have the full Zoom. I only have 4 minutes left.
Yeah. So I'm trying to upgrade it now. So.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure. But I'll get to how I feel about that. Every year, my dad and my brother get so excited about the draft for Cleveland, and every year it's disappointing. I mean, how many quarterbacks have we burned through? I do like Baker Mayfield. I think he's trying to do a good job. But everything that happened with Myles Garrett last year, and you guys know that game with Pittsburgh.
Yep.
I mean, it was embarrassing for the league. It was embarrassing for me as a Cleveland fan. You know, a lot of Cleveland fans I know were like, well, he deserved it. You know, he was talking trash or whatever. But the whole thing, I remember falling asleep right before that happened. And then I realized that the game was still going on. And I was like, why is it not over yet? And then I saw it. And I was like, oh my God. But yeah, you know, I don't know. I think every Browns fan says every year, this is our year. This is our year. And unfortunately, it's not. So I don't really get my hopes up anymore. I know my dad and brother still do. I know they do. And if they're watching or listening to this later, they will be mad that I said that. But I don't know, you guys. It's fun to go to games. You know, the stadium's fun, the dog pound's fun, but that's all I got to say right now.
Did you go to any Cleveland Cavaliers games back during your childhood? Any personal memories of LeBron James or some of the other players from those teams during your childhood?
Yeah, I did. Actually, my best friend went to St. Vincent St. Mary's High School, where LeBron James went to school. So she knew him personally. She babysat his kids for a little while. And it was just cool to go to Cavs games before he left the first time, because we knew he was great. We knew he was awesome. He's young and exciting. And then he left. He left on my mom's birthday, which truly devastated her. Truly devastated.
Oh, no.
Crushed. We were all crushed.
No offense for having no offense for having 10th year anniversary on that. Before ESPN insults our intelligence with that, I just want to put that out there.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Terrible. But yeah, so he left, but truly the minute he came back, we were all over it. We were fine. There was no hard feelings in our house. We were stoked. It felt like he had come and returned to do what he said he was going to do. It was like, I don't mean to make it holy, but it felt holy.
Holy.
And he did it. And it was just such an exciting time. I remember watching the Game 7 of the NBA Finals in 2016, and we were so excited. I was at a bar in Columbus with my mom, and we were just so nervous. I remember not being able to breathe while watching those last moments, and after Steph Curry threw his mouthpiece and everything kind of unraveled. I loved it. So definitely good times coming from, you know, the Cavs Stadium. It was the Gun for a while, and then it was the Q. Now it's Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. So anytime I can get up to Cleveland to see a game again, I like to.
Yeah, nice job by LBJ, LeBron James, acting a fool at the Draymond Green, calling that word we were not used on this broadcast, but helped them turn that series around. But we'll leave it at that.
Right.
All right, so we're going to take a little quick break. We're going to talk about The Last Dance. We're also going to break down the NFL schedule. You know, they're still kind of just, they're acting as if they're going to do for a full season. So we'll talk more about that. Myself, Lakeena McGee. You can follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SidKid80, SIDKID80, SIDKID80.
All right, so Kacy is coming back with us, so we're going to see you guys in a few minutes. This is Second City Sports Zoom style.
Zoom style.
Zoom style. All right, I'm going to do this upgrade. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, Casey. Hey, Casey.
I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. That's okay. Sis should be joining us in a bit.
Okay.
And we got an hour, so we're all good. Okay. We're all good.
I have a virtual appointment at 2:30, but other than that, we're good.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
All right, folks, we're back with Second City Sports Zoom style.
Zoom style.
There we go. Hour 2. I'm Lakeena McGee. You can follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter.
You can follow me, Sid the Kid, on Twitter and Instagram at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. And join us today is our very special guest for this week, Miss Kacy Standohar from CN100 Sports in Chicago. She's also the field reporter for the all-female baseball team, the Chicago Bandits. Kacy, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back. Let's do it.
All right. You go ahead, Sid.
All right, Lakeena. Okay. The NFL schedules were released this week. There are a few teams that have no more than 5 primetime games. And shout out to our good friend Lakeena, Danny Parkins of the McNeil and Parkins on 670 Score here in Chicago. He actually had the inside scoop on the Chicago Bears schedule. I'll focus in on that first. I kind of laughed, and I'm still going to laugh right now. You get, after an 8-8 season, let's be real, 7-9, but you had an 8-8 season after making the playoffs the year before, but you get 4 primetime games?
I guess.
I want to be upset, but yesterday I just had to laugh.
Yeah, I guess
this is what happens when you're a mediocre team in a big market.
I mean, listen, I guess they think that the Bears have a shot, perhaps, maybe with this schedule. I mean, they may end up very well be 8-8. Again, this is like, I love all of the the prognostications of the way too early record predictions. Some of this stuff. I mean, it's just like the early part of the schedule. You could probably say maybe they may have a chance to go off to a good start. But I mean, listen, they get Detroit at Detroit. That's the first game out, so no Thanksgiving Day game with them this year. It was like the last 2 years.
Thank goodness.
it was really, pretty torturous right there for the rest of the nation. They get the Giants, they get Atlanta, they get Indy after coming back from Atlanta, and they get Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks. That's weird to say on Fox. That's a Thursday night game.
And that's the day after my birthday. Wink, wink.
Yeah. Let me know what you want for your birthday. Let us know what you want for your birthday, Sid. So we're gonna get a head start here.
Brady to win or lose for your birthday.
Exactly. There you go, Kacy.
There you go, Kacy.
There you go. See, she's getting the hang of this already. You're part of the team, Kacy. Now I love it. They're gonna get Carolina and at the Rams. That's a Monday night game. 2 primetime games. Then they get New Orleans at home. Then November 8th, it's at Tennessee. And then they get Minnesota at home, but that's also another ESPN game. Then after that, their bye week. After the bye week, they go at Green Bay. That's a Sunday nighter. That's the 4th primetime game. Then they get Detroit at home, and then Houston at home. Then they get Minnesota at Jacksonville. And they finish up January 3rd against Green Bay at Lambeau, which could be for division, who knows? But I mean, they can probably go 8-8 in that schedule. Again, you can probably go up to 9. But I love everyone's making these way too early predictions for the win schedule for the Bears. But so I'll leave the floor to you guys. What do you guys think?
I'll say this, Lakeena, we're not going to go by if they win this game, they lose that game. I'm not going to do that yet. We'll do that after training camp like we do every year. But I'll say this. It's almost setting up just like last year, only last year they had a tougher schedule because they won a division 2 years ago. This year, that's your typical third-place schedule, and they can get off to a decent start. And like you say, their bye week doesn't come to around Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving. So their schedule, just like last year, gets tough in November. So if they want to get off to a decent start, they have the opportunity to do that. So in November, those division games starting to roll in. You mentioned Green Bay on the road, doing Thanksgiving weekend on Sunday night. You mentioned a home game against Minnesota. You should do well against Minnesota at home. And they have a couple of the tough games to start off the month of December. Assuming, let me repeat again, assuming they're in the playoff race, their schedule gets a little bit lighter at the end. You have back-to-back road games, especially the one at Jacksonville before you host Green Bay for their last game of the regular season. Let me repeat again, if things fall in place, their schedule could be in their favor towards the end. Kacy?
I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I think what's interesting about just the schedule release in general is that they added these Saturday games in week 15 and 16. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Like, I mean, Bears aside, sorry, I'm not a Bears expert, but Bears aside,
Okay, no
adding the
worries.
Saturday games and those flex games so they can decide the best games to kind of air. I mean, do you think that's a weird thing to have those Saturday games?
I don't think so. I think the NFL is better on Saturdays anyway. For me personally, I know why they don't do it during college football season, but it's a great idea. We had to get used to it for the playoffs as well with the extra game because this year
Right.
they start with the extra wild card games because there are 7 teams that are going to qualify for the playoffs in each conference. So 4 division winners now, 3 wild card spots. So we gotta get used to it. For Saturday, it's going to have a triple header for the wild card, at least for the wild card rounds. 3 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday. So, like you said, Casey, for the last 2 weeks of the regular season, they've been doing that for a while now. But we got to start getting used to it. So it should be fun.
I'm still not. Like, for me, Sunday is football, and then it comes with the Sunday scaries of, like, having to go back to work on Monday. You know, like, it all feels relevant for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a reason why they don't, like Sid said, there's a reason why they don't do it on early on with the Saturday games because of college football. But those last 2 weeks, I mean, they don't have to worry about it. College football, they're getting ready for their bowl game, so that's why they decided to do it this way. And like Sid said, with the extra playoff game now, this is something that we're probably gonna have to get used to. So, I mean, this is fine. I mean, I'm fine with this too. As far as sort of like, we're not gonna go like game by game honestly because it's way too early. But Tampa Bay, I mean, they had like the lowest number of primetime games. They only had like 19 the last, I think, like 10 or 15 years, even after winning the Super Bowl all those years ago. They have 5 primetime games this year. We all know why. But we all know why they have those extra primetime games. So it'll be interesting to see what, how this entails because how they use them because the Chicago game is one of those games. They host the Rams. That's the Monday Nighter. So it'll be interesting to see how Bruce Arians, I'm sure, listen, he welcomes it, sort of like they know that they're kind of spotlights on them now. But and they know why. But I Bruce Arians sort of said, "Hey, listen, bring it. We know why. People are fascinated by the Bucks this year. Seattle is another one because they got to travel a long way. They have like 4 or 5 noon games. So this is like, sorry about that silly video. But yeah, they got to travel like 29,000 miles, over 29,000 miles. So that's going to be interesting too, how they kind of like adjust to it because they got a lot of East Coast games, whereas Baltimore, they only have like 1 game outside the Eastern time zone. They don't even got to go out west. So all this is setting up for all these sort of like weird things happen in NFL. I want to know what you guys think about that.
Remember the New York Jets last year after they got Le'Veon Bell? All their games were in the Eastern time zone, and they didn't have to travel out. So Baltimore's getting that treatment this year. Now with Seattle, over the last 3 years, they've done well in the Eastern time zone in those 12 noon games. So I want to see if that trend continues this year. Now, as far as Tampa Bay is concerned, we talked about it on the show, Lakeena, for the last few weeks. Because Fox carries mostly the NFC package. Get used to Troy Aikman and Joe Buck calling your games, including Week 1 against New Orleans Saints at the Superdome. So you're the new team on the block. You're the hottest team because of Tom Brady. So get used to all the national attention coming your way.
That's right. I think that'll be interesting to see. I always feel like no matter what with Seattle, Russell Wilson makes sure that that they traveled far and he's still there and they're still going to pull it out, especially for some of those games over in the East. But I do think that the national attention, there's not going to be necessarily as many games covered by Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, as far as like they always do a lot of Cowboys games and they always do. We're doing Patriots games and whatnot, but I think we're going to see a shift there. What they find is important.
Yeah, speaking of the Patriots, I kind of laughed obviously when I saw the schedule last night, but I'm not surprised on how many primetime games they got. I think they got 3 off the top of my head. including Week 2 at Seattle on Sunday Night Football. I think the reason why NBC got that game because Week 1 the Patriots host the Miami Dolphins, and assuming that the Patriots somehow pull that game off. I think they kind of set it up as can the Patriots surprise people? I'm using air quotes as opposed to just listening. Can they surprise people and go 2-0, pull off an upset at Seattle? But as we talked about on the show before, Lakeena, for you Patriots fans, get used to those 12 noon, 1 p.m. Eastern starts because I think they have 1 or 2 late game starts and then those 3 primetime games. But the rest of those games are at high noon.
Yeah, that's something that they're probably gonna have to get used to because it'll be interesting because at the Patriots, it's something that they're not used to. So it'll be interesting to see how they react to that. I mean, they got to go they host San Francisco on October 25th. That's a late game on CBS, and there's going to be a lot of spotlight on them because Jared Stidham, assuming that he'll end up being the starter, no one's expecting him to be Tom Brady, and he knows that. And I think that makes him relax a little bit. But you got Jimmy Garoppolo coming in, and a lot of fans feel that he's kind of the one that got away. So there's going to be a lot of scrutiny for Stidham in that game. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And speaking of the 49ers, for this 3rd straight year, they're going to be finishing their season against Seattle, which could very well end up being for the NFC West. So it'll be interesting to see how all this sort of once we peel the onion and assuming that everything goes as planned. I mean, this is sort of a fluid situation. I know that Roger Goodell's been very adamant that listen, we're gonna do this, we're gonna go as scheduled, but unfortunately, you never know what's gonna happen. So I'm curious to see how all this is gonna kind of come out and play out because a lot can happen. They're talking about a second wave of this coming up in the fall, so it's still a very fluid situation here.
Yeah, and I think
yeah, go ahead, Casey.
I was just saying, with the Patriots 49ers matchup, there's a kind of a aura around the stress because it'll be the 3-year anniversary of Garoppolo kind of getting traded to the 49ers. And so what's that going to look like? Is that going to be something that the media pays a lot of attention to? I'm sure it will be. So.
Also, looking at that primetime schedule for now shifting over to Monday Night Football, I believe it's Week 3. You have the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending champs, traveling to Baltimore to face the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Of course, those teams have matched up in Kansas City for the last couple years, and they're giving us classic finishes. But I'm interested to see those 2 quarterbacks play against each other on a primetime stage. Many of us fans thought that it should have been the matchup in the AFC Championship game last year. That didn't happen, but hopefully this year that game could be a preview of a matchup, hopefully in the playoffs.
Do you guys think that Lamar Jackson has the longevity in his career? I mean, some people think that quarterbacks like him are like a 1-year, 2-year thing. So what's your opinion on that? I'm curious.
I think because of the rules of today's game, I think he can last a long time. I know they're running him a lot, but I think as long as he has a system around him that can let his talents flourish as we're seeing right now, I think he can have a long career. But I think we're just seeing the beginning stages of Lamar Jackson, in my opinion. So as long as he doesn't turn into Michael Vick on and off the field, he should be fine. But we're just starting to see the early stages of Lamar Jackson. So I don't think it's going to be a short flash. I think he's going to be here for a long time, especially the way the rules are today. He's going to be here for a long time, as long as they put good pieces around him.
Sure.
I think that's the key, too. Making sure he has a good O-line, that he has a good running back tandem, which he does. They just drafted a running back a couple of weeks ago. So I think John Harbaugh's already said that he's going to try to kind of make it so that they don't have to depend on Lamar that much, that Lamar doesn't have to use his legs that much. He can kind of let the running backs do their thing and kind of just, have the O-line around him to kind of keep him upright. If he can keep upright, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think that this is rules, Sid said, the rules have changed a lot in the last decade since those Michael Vick days. So I think his longevity has a better chance of, extending. Now looking at go ahead, Sid.
No, I don't know if you was probably going to touch on it, but before we move on, I wanted to ask Casey, did she get a chance to look at the Cleveland Browns schedule? Because I did take a glance at it, and they do play the Cowboys and Big D this year.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up again. I want to reference it. Hang on, give me a second. I'm pulling it up on my phone. I saw it.
Okay.
All right. Well, while she's doing that, I was actually just going to ask about Cleveland's schedule because they were sort of like the underachieving, popular pick last year. I mean, they have.
Yeah, we told. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
We told people to slow their hype trade down.
Yeah, we told people. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They've got a pretty tough schedule. They got a pretty even keel schedule. I mean, they go at Baltimore right off the bat. Then they have Cincy and Joe Burrow. We'll see how he goes. I mean, at Cowboys, we reference to it, Sid.
Mm-hmm.
They host the Raiders and the Texans and the Eagles too. They got 3 home games in a row in November. So I'm curious to see how the Browns sort of bounce back. It seems like the hype train is kind of like been in a standstill for a little bit.
Oh yeah, everyone learned their lesson last year. I mean, you gotta admit we probably have. I think week 1 and week 2 will be interesting. Week 4, I mean, we're gonna take the L in week 4, don't you guys think? Against Dallas.
It depends.
Probably.
I think it depends. Yeah, probably. I was trying to be nice, but
yeah, no, you don't have to be nice. Bye week in week 9. It's funny because I'm looking at the schedule on Instagram, and a lot of people are saying they're going to be 5-11. People are going to be saying they're going to be 11-5. I mean, people just have so many opinions about. I don't know. I think it's a tough schedule, to be honest. I do, especially because we're going to be watched a little bit more because of what happened last year, because of the way things kind of panned out. Is there a dynamic still for Jarvis Landry and Myles Garrett and Baker Mayfield and these guys and OBJ, I mean, to play together still? And can they vibe? Can they connect? I think the media attention last year affected them negatively. So we'll see what happens.
I think Casey brings up an interesting point. Like I said, all eyes were on them last year, and they cracked under the pressure. Freddie Kitchens is no longer there as their head coach. They brought in the offensive coordinator from the Minnesota Vikings. His name escapes me for the moment, but he's their new head coach now. And so it is a tough schedule, but it's not going to be easy because Pittsburgh there retooled. Big Ben Roethlisberger, he's back healthy now as the starting quarterback for Pittsburgh. Their defense improved last year. And also you have Baltimore in there. I know Cleveland was one of the few teams that beat Baltimore in Baltimore last year. But, they looking forward to come back off a disappointing loss in the playoffs last year. So their AFC North is going to be tough.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how the new head coach, Kevin Stefanski, how his dynamic with Baker is, because you saw how important that dynamic is with Belichick and Brady. You saw how detrimental it was with Rodgers, and now with Matt LaFleur, how much better it is. And I just think that is going to be a key. And I know this new trend of like young head coaches is a thing. They're smart, they're fast, they're quick, they're witty. So I'm curious to see how that dynamic plays out.
It'll be interesting though to see what happens with that Browns team, because are they going to kind of like, there's not going to be a lot of hype, I'm sure, because like we said, some of the other teams in the division are so much better. So they may surprise some people. Again, May 8th, 2020. I'm not making any proclamations now, but again, you never know. And a team that's fascinating to me, and Sid, this because we've talked about it the last few weeks, the Arizona Cardinals. Yep. They've got a pretty tough schedule. And be right off the bat, week 1 they face San Fran at San Francisco. So we will see early on, are they going to be worth? I'm not going to say they're going to win a division because San Fran and Seattle, those are they're like the class in that division. But it'll be just see, especially with the extra wild card, will they be right there to make that wild card spot? I mean, they host Washington, Detroit. They go at Carolina, New York, and Dallas. They got 3 road games in a row. Then they get Seattle, Miami, and they finish up with San Fran and the Rams. So we'll see where they're at by the time they finish that schedule. So they got a good chance of probably have to be right there in that for a wild card spot. Maybe definitely not the division, but definitely a wild card spot.
Almost definitely. And as we saw, as I predicted last year, Kyler Murray improved as the season went along, and now he has a number 1 wide receiver target in DeAndre Hopkins. They drafted Simmons, the linebacker out of Clemson. So If their defense continues to improve and get pressure on the quarterback, this team will be in it. Casey, I don't know about you if you play fantasy football, but I think Kyler Murray will be a top 10 fantasy football quarterback this year. I'm predicting it right now.
Oh, definitely. I agree. I played with my work friends last year, and I did pretty well. I had a lot of Green Bay Packers. I had Aaron Jones, so we had a pretty good season. I'm not going to brag, but yeah, I do. I'm excited to play again this year, and I think he will be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, just for the record, I won our D and Davis fantasy football league last year.
Yes, he did. He did. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, he really did. Yeah, I mean,
it's always exciting when that happens.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Any other sort of teams whose schedule kind of jumps at you guys?
I'll just say this for the NFC West. I think San Francisco will come back down to earth a little bit. Will they miss the playoffs like the Rams did last year? I don't know if I'm ready to go that far, but it's going to be a struggle for them this year because they caught momentum last year. Now it's the difference now to being the hunter now being the hunted. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on San Francisco, but don't count out Seattle.
Oh,
Do
no.
not count out Seattle.
Well, listen, I think we're learning never to count out Seattle. I mean, you guys saw that workout video that Russell Wilson did. And I think I don't know where he was. I think he was like in a facility not too far from where he lives. So I mean, he's ready. I think he wants to come back, and I feel they feel like the division kind of slipped away from them in the end. So I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle's right there. But like I said, I mean that West division, I would say the AFC North, the NFC West, the NFC South, I think those three divisions are probably going to be like a free-for-all for all those teams.
You know, I'm going to say one thing. I think this is off topic a little bit, but the Packers have an interesting schedule to me because they've got, guys, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3 home games, week 13, 15, and 16 that are all in December. I mean, can you even think about how cold Lambeau Field's going to be for 3 home games in December for them? I mean, honestly, like I was there last year for the Packers Bears game, and I've never been colder in my whole life at Lambeau.
Now you know why they call it the frozen tundra.
Yeah, I mean do they normally have 3 games at the end of the season that are all at home?
Not like that, and I'm kind of like wondering, well, especially that last game against the Bears. It'll be interesting to see if that's going to be for the division. I know some people have, sort of expectations that the Bears, like maybe if Mitchell Trubisky's a quarterback, they'll be like 5-11. If they have Bulls, it'll be like 10-6 or 11-5. So you can't really make those kind of predictions right now. So it'll be interesting to see, especially once all the layers and all the divisions sort of like wants to make all these adjustments because, with all the workouts and stuff, everybody's doing virtual workouts right now. I think Isaiah Simmons said they're doing virtual workouts right now too. So with the rookies, so it'll be interesting to see how will there be any adjustments made? That's what I want to know. Are there going to be some of these earlier games going to be kind of like later this season if the season's delayed the start of the regular season? So that's what I'm intrigued by, not just the games themselves. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that'll be definitely interesting.
Yeah, just one more quick thing about the NFL schedule before we move on. The Thanksgiving Day games this year, of course, the Bears are not in it, thank goodness, because they were in it the last 2 years. The first game is Houston at Detroit, followed by Washington at Dallas. And then the night game for NBC, no, it's not New Orleans, no, it's not Atlanta, thank goodness for that. It's Baltimore at Pittsburgh. I'm really looking forward to that one.
9-6, anybody? 9-6. 9-6. Get ready for those 9-6. Those 9-6 games for Baltimore and Pittsburgh, because that's what you're gonna get. I mean, look, this is gonna be interesting with those Thanksgiving games like there always are. So the Monday night slate's gonna be interesting to me. They got Kansas City and Baltimore in week 3. That should be interesting one. That should be interesting there. So, I mean, these primetime games, if you're all the networks, Fox, CBS got Super Bowl this year, and ESPN and NBC, of course, you're good. You gotta be feeling pretty good with the schedule.
Yeah, like we said before, the NFL is a week-to-week sport. It's a television sport, so it's always storylines every week. So people will be tuning in. So 2020 should be no different.
Yep.
especially in these situations.
Yep. So true.
All right. So, any other schedules that jump out at you guys before we move on? Anything like games that kind of jump out at you?
I'm good. I'm waiting for the next topic.
All right. All right. So, all right. Yeah, so we got plenty of time to talk about all the NFL stuff, even more as it all goes. But the episode 5 and 6 of The Last Dance were last week, and they really kind of delve into those later, like early 90s Bulls and that first three-peat in that era. And I don't know about you guys, but are you watching the Last Dance, Kacy? I know you're like outside of Cleveland. I know like those first couple of parts you kind of like covered your eyes.
No, I'm definitely watching. I watch every week. I'm so excited for this week. I'm kind of sad that like there's only a couple more episodes left. Like 7 and 8 are this week, and that's gonna be over. Yeah, I've been watching. I've been loving it. I think it's interesting because these last 2 episodes that we just saw are kind of leading up to Jordan's departure, and that you're like, okay, you're anticipating it. And I think it's a little jumpy how it goes back and forth to like the late 80s, early 90s, and then it goes into the late 90s, and you're seeing that happen. But I loved how they really shined a light on these past 2 episodes on just how it was to be Michael Jordan during that time, from a fan's perspective, from his perspective. And I was talking to some people about it, and we were saying, do you think LeBron has that same level, or because Michael Jordan exists, that kind of stuff would never happen to LeBron? Because you got to look at the media and see how the media was all over him in the hallways. The scrum was even more intense. He could barely sneak into the little section where he would have to talk about the post game. And I just think media requirements are so different now. There's more space for the players to be allowed their own privacy and their own space. Even the fact that he couldn't even get away and lay on his couch and smoke a cigar and chill out and eat. It's just so different. And I was thinking about that. I was like, does LeBron have that same sort of level of fame? Or because Michael Jordan was the first to do it, that kind of level and that kind of intensity will never be matched again?
I always look at it as like it's different eras, because in the Magic and Bird era, they didn't have to deal with that. And even some of the playoff games were tape delayed. I think once CBS, once it got, the NBA games and they started, we've talked about this before, Sid, that the profile started changing. They had the Converse wrap with all the players from the mid 80s with Bird won MVP that year. So, but I think if you compare then to now, I can't imagine if Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and those players then would be able to deal with social media and all this stuff now, because I'm sure it's magnified with LeBron and Kobe. It was definitely bittersweet seeing Kobe there during some of those parts, especially him doing an interview, and that was like 1 week before he tragically passed. So that makes it even more gut wrenching. But I can't imagine that. I think if you ask MJ now, LeBron, the different type of eras, I mean, could Jordan will be able to deal with playing in this type of era with every move you make is being scrutinized now? So everything you say, everything what you do, and also the political aspect of it. I mean, if you remember North Carolina, Jesse Helms, I mean, he was a long-running congressman, and the guy he was going up, I forgot the guy he was going up against in North Carolina.
Harvey Gantt.
Who was African American, was very not so happy with Jordan when he didn't endorse him. And Helms had I think he had four terms. I think that was his 5th term, I think, in Congress. To me, I don't think MJ's endorsement would have made a difference, because again, things were a lot different down there in North Carolina back then. The demographics are a lot different now. And I'd always say, for me, that if you don't want to be political, you shouldn't have to be scrutinized if you are or you're not. That's always been my feeling about it. If you're not that kind of person, if you're not a very political person, you don't have to be. If you want to be political aspirations, fine. If you want to be community activists, fine. But if you don't, then that's fine too. I don't think that players or any famous person should be scrutinized whether they are political activists or not.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Sid.
Go ahead, Kacy. Okay, I just wanted to say that I think that Jordan was guarded back then because of all the attention he got, and especially after the careers of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. They were retired. Of course, that was when Jordan was the man of the NBA. Always wondered if he could have survived in this social media atmosphere now. And I think he would still survive, but like you said, Lakeena, everybody has a camera phone now. If he did something real stupid, if person A doesn't have a phone or camera on them, the next person does. All we have to do is just pull out our phones and then, Jordan dropped $1 on the street corner. If you didn't take a picture, Casey's taking a picture. If she didn't take a picture, I'm taking a picture. So, like I said, everything's so scrutinized now. I think he will survive, but he would be very much more guarded now. How long he would have played, I'm not sure, because as we saw in last week's episodes, especially during that third championship season and when they defeated Phoenix, every light, every camera, every person was on him because he was the man of the league. Now, getting back to the political aspect of it, me personally, I didn't learn this until, years later, because I was still young and didn't understand it at the time. But we shouldn't pressure our athletes to do something that they don't want to do. Let's be honest here. Every entertainer and every athlete is not, as the kids would say, woke, okay? And some of them just don't care whether we like it or not. So if they want to do it, make sure they want to do it because of their own reasons, not because of pressure from the outside. And I'll leave it at that.
I have to agree with that, and I think President Barack Obama did a good job of kind of showing both sides of that in his interview about Jordan.
Yeah.
Was he disappointed? Yeah, but he also understood why he didn't do that. And I think the problem, I think the issue is when he should have stayed silent, and instead he insinuated that it was important to him that he still is selling shoes, by saying Republicans buy Jordans too, or sneakers, or whatever he said. So I think that insinuated that he was making it about his personal brand and his personal business, instead of he just should have said, hey, no comment, I don't involve myself with that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I also think too that Michael, he was very honest and forthright about it, because he really didn't comment on that during that time. And you can understand why. And you had brought up a great point, Casey, about President Obama kind of showing both sides, which unfortunately many of us in our society don't want to hear. It's just my point. I don't want to hear anything else and just go home. And that really sets a bad precedent. But I think Michael was very honest about that situation. Another situation I want to bring up, which he touched on, which I didn't think it was going to get touched during this documentary, was his gambling addiction. Especially, and this part I forgot about. Lakeena, I don't know if you remember this, but it was before Game 1 of the finals against the Phoenix Suns.
Yep.
Ahmad Rashad did that famous interview. Michael Jordan had the glasses on.
Yep.
As soon as I saw that, I said, oh boy, here comes trouble. And then he said, I don't have a gambling problem. I have a competition problem. I was like, whoever told him to leave those glasses on, I know you, Michael Jordan, but that is a bad idea to leave those sunglasses on. I'm just saying.
Well, I say it all. So, if you wanted him to be honest, you needed to see his eyeballs,
Right.
That was that was very smart on his part to wear the sunglasses. I don't know if it was his idea or maybe that whoever his PR people were at the time, their ideas, but I'm sure Ahmad Rashad, he'll take it to his grave. He is not gonna divulge anything. I'm sure he knows what went on. I'm sure he was around those teams for years. I mean, the Bulls were on national television a lot. He was there. Yeah. He knows. I think you're not going to see that. He's not going to say anything. He's not going to tell you. So, and like I said, I was a little surprised that they went there with the gambling addiction. I'm a little surprised that they did, but to their credit, I mean, that they did it. And I just don't think now, especially in social media, it's going to be scrutinized so much now, that gambling addiction. And we'll see in these next couple of episodes coming up this Sunday, was it when he steps away from basketball, and unfortunately we learn about the tragic death of his father, and what kind of propelled him to make the decision to kind of step away from the game. Was it because of his father's death and needed time to get over it, or was it because of the gambling addiction, which led to a suspension? Again, we'll see if they actually go there. They may not, but we'll see.
I think they're also go there. I think they're gonna go there. They've been pretty raw and real, and it's been all about the adversity these whole last 2 episodes. I mean, even the whole covering of the logo at the Olympics, the Reebok logo, because he just couldn't stand that anyone would see that it wasn't Nike. I mean, you know, Reebok spent all this money to sponsor these USA uniforms, these Dream Team uniforms. And for that to be the case, I don't know. I feel like someone was advising him to really stick to his brand, and it caused a lot of problems.
Which I didn't know that. I didn't know about that. I did not know. That's why it was like, I should know. But yeah, I mean, I was sort of surprised that was why that, you know, they kept it covered. Go ahead, Sid.
Yeah, I remember when all that went down at the time because Michael Jordan was signed to Nike, and it was a big controversy because most of those other players, they were signed to Converse and Reebok as well, but they didn't cover their logos. Jordan, who represented Nike, covered covered the Reebok logo, as you mentioned, Casey, with the American flag. So I remember that he just covered the flag, and no one else said anything about it afterwards. But getting back to the episodes we're going to see this Sunday, Lakeena, if you remember at the time when Jordan's father passed, people trying to link that between that and his gambling addiction. Will that part be under the microscope? I'm sure it will, because that was one of the hot rumors were out at that time. Because if you remember, they kind of touched on it in the last episode. If you remember, Bob Costas interviewing him after the Phoenix Championship. Do you want to come back? And Michael said something to the effect of, if my love for the game is still strong. I remember at the time I was like, uh-oh, is he going to quit? He can't quit. But I remember at the time, as soon as his father passed, I said, I don't want to put it out there, but I think he's going to retire. I think that was the last straw, because we weren't sure. We all assumed as fans that he was going to come back, but I think after the death of his father, you know, you kind of knew that him retiring, that was going to happen. Now, I heard on another radio show about a year ago that the story came out, his personal trainer, Tim Grover, talking about Michael Jordan, he told him and a couple of close friends before that season that he was going to retire because he needed a break. And as we saw in the last couple of episodes from last week, the media was hounding on him. He became the person in the NBA. So I could understand from his perspective why he needed a break.
Yeah, I think he needed to have that sabbatical. Plus, I think his dream was to play baseball. So I wonder, are they going to touch on that? Are they going to touch even more about the, you know, Sam Smith's book? I was surprised that they actually went there. And is it because Horace Grant was sort of considered.
I ain't tell nothing to Sam Smith.
I was like, was he snitching? Is that why he was let go? I mean, it'll be interesting to see what do they dive in even more with that, because, you know, it's sort of one of those things where they're gonna delve into, this is like when they get to the real nitty gritty. They're gonna delve into, you know, when Jordan came back, you know, his altercation with Steve Kerr at practice and him being kicked out of practice, and it'll be interesting to see what more and more, especially once, you know, they go back and forth closer to like present day meeting when this was filmed. So. Like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see where this goes.
I just think
also too. No, go ahead, Casey.
I was just gonna touch on that. I just think that Jordan had a way about him that he never wanted anyone to be better than him, and he never wanted to like go out on a bad note. Like, you saw him in the car. He said, like, I'm not waiting until I'm carried off the field. I want to walk off myself. Like, I don't want to be letting anyone else decide when I decide I'm done.
Yeah, you want athletes to decide their careers in their own hands, but unfortunately, not everybody gets that opportunity.
Right.
I wanted to go back to the Olympics. They covered that in Tony Kukoc, and we touched on it last week, Lakeena. They told that story very thoroughly. But for those of you that do not know, Tony Kukoc was selected in 1990 NBA draft. This is when the European players were starting to come into the league slowly. And Tony Kukoc said on camera that the reason why he stayed in Europe those first 2 years because he was getting paid more than he would got paid on the rookie contract with the Chicago Bulls. Of course, at that time, rookies weren't making as much as they are now, but because of the money is coming to the league thanks to these television contracts. But Scotty and Michael doing their first matchup in the Olympics against Croatia, they really went after Kukoc hard. And I think one of them said it wasn't personal, but they was trying to show Jerry Krause right, because Jerry Krause said that he was the future of the Bulls, and Michael and Scotty took it personally we'll show you, Jerry Cross. Like this play that you selected. He's not as tough as you think he is. He's not as good as you thought he was. Now, during the gold medal game, which of course USA won over Croatia, Kukoc did come back, so he did show some toughness because people forget at that time. Foreign players were known to be soft. They were skillful, but they were soft and not tough enough. Of course, the way the game was played back then. Of course, now that narrative has all but vanished. But it was interesting to see how I'm glad they told this story very thoroughly because Kukoc, it turned out he was a very important player, of course, when Michael came back, even during his rookie year when Michael left. But Tony Kukoc did show that he had the courage, he had the toughness to survive what he did during the Olympics. Of course, it helped him throughout his NBA career.
Well, in his home country, I mean, they were going in the middle of a civil war. And so I think that kind of helped with his toughness. And listen, he had a young family at the time. I think his son was just born not too long ago. So I think that's why, like you said, that's why he stayed, because he was making even more money playing in the league there. And listen, I'm glad that he was able to show people. I don't think he gets his due with those last 3 championship teams because, especially the way it came about. I mean, we saw it firsthand. So we saw it in you guys have seen it in the last dance. The fact that, it was sort of like, I think he showed people that, hey, I am a tough guy. I mean, European players are tough, especially. So I think that kind of like changed the narrative with them in a lot of ways there too. And the rest of the dream team, well, in '92, they kind of delve into like, okay, what kept Isaiah Thomas from being on the team? It was just Jordan. I think Bird didn't want him there, Match didn't want him there. Charles kind of like stayed like, hey, listen, I'm not in it. But there were like other players on the team that listen. Charles said it because he said, listen, I didn't say anything, but he's been consistent about it. Love Charles, but yeah, I mean, they kind of really delve into like what kept Isaiah Thomas from being on the team. So I think in that perspective. And then the practices, I mean, they delve into it like in the '92 Dream Team doc, but they never like had like audio of it. So we actually heard the audio of some of the stuff that went on during those practices. So Chuck Daly, God rest his soul. I mean, I can't imagine him having to deal with all those egos and the infighting. It was just crazy.
Yeah, but for all of that, he did a masterful job. That the collection of that talent came together. They did what they had to do. They were undefeated. They blew out their opponents by average of 50 points, and they did what they had to do in winning that gold medal in '92. I wanted to ask Kacy, since the Last Dance has been airing so far, what has been some of your favorite moments?
Well, I know you were just talking about Isaiah Thomas, guys, and I it's not even a favorite moment of mine, but I think it's funny how the internet has responded to this documentary. That clip of Isaiah Thomas saying, I don't know why I wasn't selected. I met the criteria, but I just wasn't selected, has become like a viral little clip. People are like pairing it with like, this is me when I get ghosted by a guy on a dating app, or this is me when that response of him being like, I don't know why I wasn't selected, but I wasn't. I met the criteria. So I think it's been funny how the internet is sort of, we're all more bored right now. So it matters what everyone's reaction is to these episodes. Like we're watching it like it's live game. Kevin Love said, he tweeted that MJ was the alpha period. And like, we care about everyone's response to these episodes because there's nothing else going on. So I think it's been cool. It's been bringing people together. And we know that this documentary was supposed to air in June, but it was moved up to April 19th, my birthday. So it was a birthday gift.
Happy
to
birthday.
me. Happy birthday. Last year in my 20s, spending it in quarantine, watching MJ documentary, but it's been good, and I love that they moved it up because they knew that it would bring people together. It would start conversation. It would be something for the morning sports shows and for us on a podcast and on a radio show to then talk about. So I really like how things like the MJ documentary and even Tiger King and different shows and things have brought people together during this strange time. I think one of my favorite memories though on the show so far is, I know it was like probably 2 episodes back or 3 episodes back, was just how they let Dennis Rodman literally go to Vegas and like with Carmen Electra, and it was like no big deal. Like if a player did that now, like it would be a totally different ball game. And I love how all of them were like, he's not coming back when he said he's coming back. Like, you're not going to get him. Even MJ was like, he's not coming back. So I just found that to be sort of like a jaw-dropping moment for me. I was like, wait, is this real? Did he really do this? So I don't know. I think that was really interesting. And I just love how they're pairing music to go along with the documentary. The whole production of it's really good. And they're pairing really good musical moments with these really important times in this history. So it's been cool.
Yeah, I was listening before you move on. I was listening to Jason Hare, the director. He was on one of the local radio stations here in Chicago, and he was explaining that someone told him that to play today's current music with the documentary. He said no. He was walking through a neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York. He said, I wanted to play the music what was going on at the times. And I said, yeah, it makes perfect sense. You know, hip hop was moving to the mainstream back then. Other forms of music were coming to the mainstream with the house music, with the dance music, what was going on at that time. So just the soundtrack within itself, I think it's on Spotify somewhere that I heard. So people can download those songs. Well, but the music for that time, it just fits what was going on at that time. So I'm glad that Jason stuck to play the music that was hot from that time. So me personally, I have no complaints about that. From Kumo D, LL Cool J, Air B, Rakim, you heard some Beastie Boys in there as well. You heard Outkast. So hip hop in particular, it was going through its transitional phase at that time, but he still has some great music out there. I'm glad it's being displayed for our younger generation.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's sort of like, it'll be interesting to see what they do next week, because once they get, like I said, once they get to like, Jordan retiring and, the death of his dad, and just, this is sort of like, we're kind of getting to nitty gritty here with these last few episodes, these last couple of weeks. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of music that they play. I mean, I'm glad he stuck to his guns and went with sort of like the classic music instead of today's music, because I don't think it would have meshed well. So it really, this is sort of like, it'll be just, especially these last few episodes, it'll be see like how, like, do they delve right into some of these other topics that we've learned so much about. And will Jerry Krause end up being kind of like the hero, not like the hero necessarily, but sort of like maybe not as big of a jerk or a jackass as we all know. So it'll be interesting how that goes.
I'm gonna be sad when it's over, guys. Seriously, what are we gonna do then? Like, if Illinois doesn't open back up in June and these episodes are over, like, what do I have to look forward to?
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't come to that, but I'm kind of with you with that one on.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty bored at this point. So but yeah, I mean, the next couple, I mean, they're going to talk about like Lance Armstrong and Bruce Lee, and also the '98 home run chase with Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Those are like the next few that are going to be coming about these next weeks after The Last Dance. So it'll be interesting how that goes with those. So should be interesting, especially the '98 home run chase, how far they delve into that. But in these these last few minutes, Kacy, you also we Sid talked about it earlier. You also cover the Chicago Bandits softball team. What's the atmosphere like with that? Because of course, a smaller stadium, and not a lot of people, the capacity of it, but the games are packed. I mean, they've been on television. What's that been like, covering the Bandits?
It's been an incredible experience, honestly. I didn't realize how much it would positively affect me, and it has. The whole Bandit Nation and the fans that come out to the park at Rosemont, like you said, it's packed every single game, and their fans wait outside for them for autographs for hours after. These young girls, the women that they aspire to be and be like. I mean, it's incredible how big their fan base is, and it's sad that there's not enough TV attention, because these NCAA softball players get a lot of attention in college, and then the minute they go pro, it's a totally different ballgame, because there's not ad dollars behind it and people aren't watching as much. So it's definitely disappointing. There's definitely a disparity there as far as pay and as far as what they're able to do and resource best out of it that they can. And they're hopefully planning to do a season this year. I know that management's been talking a little bit about that. Some of the different NPF teams have dropped out of the league, so there's some changes going on right now. But the good news is if they do have a season, they'll follow baseball, MLB suit, and they won't have fans, but at least they'll have a season and we'll be able to kind of bring you guys some digital coverage and do that still. But it's been awesome. It's more than I could have ever imagined and expected. Sarah Spain from ESPN is a big advocate for women's athletics, and she threw out a first pitch at one of the Bandits games last year. So it was cool to meet her and have her be a part of that, and kind of just for bigger audiences to pay attention to these female athletes. They're incredible.
Yeah, they really are. I've seen a few of the games for what I can see through my phone. I mean, the softball players. I mean, they don't get their due because they're amazing athletes.
Yeah.
I want to ask your opinion about women in sports, Kacy. Of course, we're seeing women get into positions, especially in the NBA, as assistant coaches. We have one here in Chicago with the Bulls. Of course, now you're starting to see women get into refereeing. We saw it in the NBA in the 90s with Violet Palmer. We're starting to see a couple in the NFL now. Do you think there'll ever become a day? I think Becky Hammon, I think it's pretty safe to say she'll be the first female coach in a professional league. She's an assistant under Greg Popovich in the San Antonio Spurs. Yes. But do you think there'll become a day that you will see a female football head coach or a baseball manager, or do you think we still have long ways to go?
I unfortunately said I do think we have a long way to go, but I do think it's definitely possible, and we will see that day. I think we all will. I don't know if that's going to happen first in baseball because there's less physicality behind it. I think the big judgment all the time is that, well, they haven't played the game, so how could they possibly be? They haven't played on that level, so how can they be? But they have played the game in their capacity and what they're able to do, and I think we are definitely going to see that. Just like how many years ago we never thought women would do play-by-play or color commentary, and we have Doris Burke who's paving the way, and Erin Andrews who's on the sidelines, and all of those women who are stepping into those roles that we never thought we'd see. So I think it's absolutely possible that we can see a woman head football coach or a female MLB manager. Definitely.
I hope so. I mean, the opportunities are there.
Yeah. And that could not only make history, but they could have a great season. And then we start to pick up that trend and be like, all right, maybe this is a good idea. I don't think that there's room for any sort of misogyny left in sports anymore. I know it still is a problem and it still happens, but it's not like, they're in the locker room while players are changing, and there can be ways to go around it that still is respectful.
Absolutely.
All right, Kacy Standohar of CN100 Sports in Chicago joining us here on Kacy City Sports Zoom Sound for a couple more minutes here. To wrap up with you, Kacy, what programs have you been watching during this downtime, and have you been binge watching any shows that you haven't had a chance to catch up on before?
Yeah, I've actually been watching a lot more movies. I was never really a movie person, but I was always a TV show person, and I would just binge watch The Office over and over and over again. But lately I've been getting more into some movies I haven't seen. I finally saw, and I know it's been out for a while, but Quiet Place, the movie that's a horror thriller film that's mostly silent. I thought that was excellent. I feel like I'm burning through Netflix, though. I feel like I've seen all I need to see, and besides The Last Dance and all that, I've just been trying to catch up on things I haven't seen before. What are you guys watching?
Me personally, still, I'm getting sick of it a little bit, but still old games, not necessarily on TV, because as we talked about before, Lakeena, I know EBA TV and ESPN they had to play the hits, but I've been finding more games that people are not paying attention to online. So thank goodness for YouTube for that. Of course, I've been tweeting out some clips here and there, both on my Twitter and Instagram pages. So I've been kind of watching that. So I'm sure, hopefully, I'll get into some outside sports programming before all this is over. And one quick thing I want to ask Kacy before we get up out of here. Tell us about, you're a great follower, by the way, on Instagram. I think it was you and your roommate, if I'm not mistaken. And this is during the time where Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot started to put the hammer down on the people jogging
Yep.
on Lakefront. She made this great video talking about where it seemed like Mayor Lightfoot was everywhere telling people
Yep.
to stay home. Tell us about that before we get
Yeah.
out of here.
That was me and my friend Ashley. She's not my roommate,
Okay.
but we kind of self-quarantined ourselves together at first because we didn't want to be alone. And we decided to make this funny video. And I truly believe we were like one of the first to do it. And then everyone followed suit. But we were like, what if we just like pretend to try to go out, and everywhere we go, like it's just a picture of her like blocking us from going anywhere.
I love that.
You stay home.
yeah, she was just looking at us like down the hallway, and we shut the door and we were like terrified. So we kind of threw that together, and we were crying laughing while making it because we used that song Everywhere by Michelle Branch. We used I always feel like somebody's watching me.
Yeah, I know.
We used that song too. And then just other songs to kind of go along with the theme. But it ended up getting a really big response. We threw it up on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. And I think people were just laughing about it. At first I was like, is she going to hate this? Is she going to think we're terrible citizens and terrible residents of Chicago? And then I saw some press conferences where Mayor Lightfoot was like enjoying those kinds of things. So it was all fun.
Yeah, but sure. You gotta laugh at yourself even in these crazy times. You have to. For me, like real quick before we leave, I've been watching a lot of classic TV shows just because I'm sick of watching like the classic games because like you said, Sid, I've been playing like some of the games that they don't show anymore on some of the on some of the networks. So that's what I've been watching. Again, like I said, I've been watching a lot of classic television shows. So. Yeah, but I think we're all ready for sports to come back, though, I think.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, Kacy, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun, and it's gone by quick, and we got to do this again.
Honestly, I loved it. Thank you guys for having me. I am a huge fan of both of you, and I will I'll come back anytime, seriously.
Absolutely.
And where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram at Kacy Stando, Stando, and then on Twitter, my full name at Kacy Standohar, Standohar. I'll follow you guys back. I'm excited.
We're excited. You're part of the team now, Kacy. So it's an ever-growing family. So thank you so much. Yeah, we're definitely doing this again. This has been so much fun.
Awesome. I can't wait. Let's do it. Hopefully by then sports will be back and we can actually I can come into the studio and meet you guys for real.
Yeah, hopefully that happens soon. All right. Okay, Sid. Anything you want to tease for next week, or we're gonna try to see if we can get like a couple of guys talking about The Last Dance. Hopefully, maybe Chuck Swirsky. Maybe Tom Dorr, somebody of that ilk. But we'll try. I mean, they've been kind of busy.
Yeah, just real quick, looking forward to the Sunday's episode of The Last Dance. They're going to get into, as you said, Lakeena, about Jordan's first retirement, and they're going to start chronicling the 98 playoffs. Of course, their first-round opponents were the New Jersey Nets, and then followed that was Charlotte, and then we'll get into the meat of it all, the Eastern Conference Finals matchup against the Pacers, and, of course, the Utah Jazz for the finals. So it should be fun these next 2 weeks. As Kacy said, after next Sunday, I'm gonna cry because it'll be all over.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be so tough.
But I enjoyed it so far.
But it's been fun, and also I think we're seeing that how like Charles Barkley should get his due as a player because that '93 he won MVP. So, I mean, he should be getting his due here with games wise. I hope him and MJ get back together because I don't know why they're MJ was offended by what Charles said. I mean, he's being honest. He should know that, but. We'll see.
Right.
Come on, hug it out, guys. Hug it out. You follow? Yeah. Go ahead, Sid. You got any final thoughts?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SidKid80. That's at SidKid80. SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. You can read all of my articles at WeAreRegalRadio.com. That's WEAREREGAL Radio.com.
You can follow me at Lakeena McGee on Twitter. At Keena_McGee on the Instagram. You can also listen to our shows on the We Are Regal Radio website on Anchor.
Yes.
And then also Spotify. So anywhere else where you guys listen to your podcast, we're right there. We're just a click away. Our buddy Kyle's been doing a great job posting the stuff on there. So hopefully we'll have this episode posted. If not today, maybe tomorrow, definitely. But listen, we're thinking about Jason. You know, Jason's still part of the team.
Yeah.
You know, he's been busy, so you know, hopefully he'll join us soon. But we're not going to press him on it.
Yeah, Jason's a big part of the team. Obviously, he's been busy just like I have outside of here. So we're still thinking about you, Jason. Everything's well. He'll be back with us soon. So we keep, as you said last week, Lakeena, we keep doing this for you guys. We love you. We're going to keep on doing it because this is our passion. This is what we love. And you see and hear us do it every week. We're going to continue to do it. So it's only the beginning from here. We don't stop. We just don't stop. This is next level stuff right here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for Kacy, Sydney, I'm Lakeena. This has been Second City Sports Zoom style.
Zoom style.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Stay home.
And wash your hands.
Yes.